Okay, so in today's video we're going to take a little look at the bicep curl. Now before we dive into the exercise itself, we need to take a little look at how the biceps work. And in order to do that, we need to first of all look at the elbow joint. So to keep things super simple, when we bend and flex at the elbow joint, this is where the biceps shorten and contract. And when we extend at the elbow joint, this is where the biceps will lengthen and stretch. So with that considered, we can pretty much come to the conclusion that anything from the elbow joint up to the shoulder becomes pretty irrelevant as far as the biceps are concerned. So the first point we really want to look at is stability. How can we isolate those biceps as best as we can and pretty much write off any assistance from anywhere else? So often what I see people doing in the gym is they start the movement with their shoulders rounded forward. Now the issue with this is that when we're in this stretch position of the biceps here, in order to get this weight to start coming up, we're likely going to what we call launch the weight. So the shoulders go from this rounded position and then they're going to want to throw themselves back, and in order to do that, we generate this momentum. And essentially what that does is it takes a lot of load off when we initiate that movement in that stretch position. If we lock those shoulder blades back and down, what we're doing there is we're saying the shoulders can't give us any assistance at all here, so the only real thing we've got to get that weight to start moving up from this lengthened position is the biceps. So we're improving stability by putting the shoulder blades back and down into position. And we're stopping any of that momentum and any of that launching from rounded shoulders. So there's your point number one. Point number two is when we get to the top of this movement, what we've got to remember is that there'll be a point here where the biceps are job done. I cannot flex and shorten my bicep muscles anymore here. So often what I see is people allowing the elbows to travel up and forward, and essentially what this does is it drops the load off. This is now much easier on my biceps here. I could hold this all day long, but if I bring them back here, all of a sudden the load is back on. So I'm really focusing here on keeping everything from the elbow there to the shoulder completely fixed in that exact same position when I'm curling. So notice at no point am I allowing these to creep up and forward. They're staying in this position here. My biceps are now fully shortened. I cannot do any more work here. I'm fully lengthening, locking out the elbow joint, keeping the shoulders back and down and stable, driving it through and working only to that shortened range. If you take those points into consideration, you'll find that your biceps do a lot more work. You will isolate those biceps so much more efficiently. Now the next point is tempo. So it's very common, and I used to be this guy, hands up, that I used to throw my dumbbells around extremely quickly and extremely carelessly. So curls for me would look a little something like this. 1, 2, and actually we need to provide some time and attention to those muscles. So I would say, again, there's no exact rule to this, but you want at least a 3-second tempo coming down. You can work a 4-second tempo, a 5-second tempo, but for me and my clients, I always like to encourage us coming down, lengthening and stretching that bicep there for a good 3 seconds minimum. Taking a pause at the bottom, I find that really helps to stop any of that potential assistance and that launching. If we just take a second at the bottom to make sure those shoulders are stable and fixed in position. Then as we curl up, again, another 1 second as we curl up. So don't want this to be super lightning fast. Again, it's going to be tempting to start launching and generating momentum. So I would go minimum 3 seconds down, a 1 second pause at the bottom, at least a 1 second on the way back up, and then a little pause to squeeze at the top, rather than coming up and then just dropping straight back in. Just a little pause, just register that you fully shortened and contracted that bicep, and then drop straight back in. Have a little crack at those points when you next perform your set of bicep curls, and let me know how you get on.